So now we're on record. Before I begin, I would like to find out if I'm audible enough. So can you guys hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Okay, beautiful.
Yes, sir, we can hear you.
All right, so let me share my screen. In our last class, we were looking at definitions. Today it is something else, the normative and the empirical. Yeah, just a few seconds. Okay, so in this session, we'll round up our analysis of the difference between values and facts. Values are about what we should or should not do, like we discussed the last time. Then facts are about what is or is not. Now, the thing is that sometimes we mistake values for facts. There are factual statements with implicit value judgments. Examples. Look at the difference between the following two statements. 1, the president has lifted the lockdown. 2, the president has rightly lifted the lockdown. The only difference between the two statements is the word or the qualification rightly. The first is a factual statement. The second is like the first, but with an implicit value judgment, represented by the word rightly. The second is therefore a value judgment. So the lesson is that we should look out for both the explicit and implicit meanings of statements. Without confirming these two kinds of meanings, you could be misled. You could see how important this distinction is to our business of logical reasoning. Now, so that's about values and facts. Let's look at metaphors and proverbs. We're now trying to look at aspects of language where meaning is not straightforward. First of all, we'll look at metaphors and proverbs. Then we'll look at some meaning defects such as vagueness and ambiguity. Okay. So crucial to logical reasoning is the need to single out expressions that should not be interpreted literally. So there are some expressions that we don't normally interpret literally. Two of such expressions are, or two of such kinds of expressions are metaphors and proverbs. We need to know what they are in order to know how to handle them as logicians. Metaphors. These are sentences that should not be interpreted literally. Examples. Don't judge a book by its cover. The interpretation is that we shouldn't evaluate things by just looking at their appearances. It's raining cats and dogs. The interpretation is normally that it's raining heavily. Of course, it cannot rain cats and dogs because cats and dogs do not fall from the sky. So metaphors are sentences we normally do not interpret literally. They are sentences with implicit meanings, other implicit meanings that are not found in the wording of the sentence. Proverb is a sentence with a literal meaning as well as a non-literal one. And the non-literal meaning is usually a piece of advice. So that means a proverb is a multiple purpose speech act. Now, so proverbs have both a literal meaning and a non-literal meaning. So I think that's one crucial difference between a proverb and a metaphor. Metaphors don't usually have a literal meaning, or rather the literal meaning of metaphors, we don't usually need it. What we need is the implicit meaning. But for proverbs, we need both the implicit meaning and the explicit meaning. The two meanings make a lot of sense. We normally find the two meanings valuable. So that's why a proverb is a multiple purpose speech act. You can interpret a proverb literally. You can also interpret it non-literally. So proverb fulfills the two objectives. Examples: only a fool tests the depth of a river with two of his feet. So literally, we don't step into rivers that we don't know well with the two of our feet. So that one is true at the literal and explicit level. But the proverb also offers an advice that goes beyond stepping into rivers, that we don't embark on a venture without a proper reflection. So both the literal meaning and the non-literal meaning of this proverb are reasonable and acceptable. That is what makes a proverb different from a metaphor. It takes a whole village to raise a child, which is true. And the non-literal meaning is that the community is responsible for the moral upbringing of a child. So any community, whether it is a village or not a village, so it goes, the non-literal meaning is an advice that goes beyond the village. It applies to modern society, to institutions, to organizations, to any group. No one can lick his or her elbow. No one can lick his or her own elbow, which is true. It's difficult for us to lick our elbow. But the advice is also, the non-literal advice is that no person is an island. You need the assistance of other people in your life. So the differences between a proverb and a metaphor is that first, a proverb has an acceptable literal meaning. And two, a proverb also has a non-literal meaning, usually intended as an advice. But metaphors are not interpreted literally. The intentions behind proverbs. Proverbs are mostly used to advise people, but proverbs are not always sincerely used. For instance, the proverb "no one can lick his or her own elbow" can be used to encourage corruption or convince someone that it's impossible to fight corruption. So the intentions behind proverbs are not always good ones. A little exercise. Provide one example each of a metaphor and a proverb. How is a metaphor different from a proverb? So we have so many examples of metaphors and proverbs. I don't think you should waste our time. And I just finished talking about the difference between a metaphor and a proverb. So let's look at some meaning defects in language. In addition to metaphors and proverbs, there are expressions whose meanings are defective. Two examples of defective meaning in expressions are vagueness and ambiguity. Vagueness and ambiguity. So let's begin from vagueness, because now we're looking at defects in meaning. An expression is vague when its meaning has no boundaries of application. No boundaries of application. An expression is vague when its meaning is not precise. So combining the two descriptions, we can say an expression is vague. An expression is vague when the meaning has no boundaries of application because it is not precise. Now, because the meaning of an expression is not precise, you don't have a boundary for where you can apply it and where you cannot. For example, he will be here any moment from now. Any moment from now is a vague phrase. It can mean any time from this moment till even after Jesus Christ comes again. It just continues. It's an infinite. The meaning of any moment from now has no boundary for knowing where to apply it and when not to apply it. The same thing with the second example. I'll come and see your parents at the right time. At the right time is not precise. The meaning of at the right time is not precise. It is vague and it has no clear boundary of application. That car is expensive. Expensive only suggests that something's price, the price of something is more than it should be, or more than normal. But how expensive, we have no idea. Is it 10 cedis or is it 1 million cedis? We don't know, or whether it is $1 million. So it is vague. Ambiguity. A sentence is ambiguous when it is capable of more than one meaning. So this is different from the problem of vagueness. Ambiguity means that the meaning of something is more than one, not that the meaning is not clear. There are three types of ambiguity. We have lexical ambiguity, we have referential ambiguity, and we have syntactic ambiguity. Lexical ambiguity. This one is not in our coursework. I took it from the textbook at the bookshop, the textbook that is red and black. But it is good. It is good when teaching. I found out it's a good way to teach ambiguity so that you understand it very well. Lexical ambiguity. If an ambiguity occurs in a single word, then it is called lexical ambiguity. This type of ambiguity usually occurs in words that have the same spelling but different meanings. Such words are called homographs. So when a single word has more than one meaning, it's a homograph. Examples: he lives close to the bank. Now, bank is a homograph, a word that has more than one meaning. So writing he lives close to the bank is vague. Does he live close to a river bank or a bank as a financial institution? Military head 6 arms. This could be a newspaper headline. Military head 6 arms. Now, both the head and the arms are homographs. They have multiple meanings. Is it the head, is it the biological head of a military man or the head of the military as an institution? In which case, we're talking about a head as a chair of an institution. Is it the arms, the biological arms of a military man, or are we talking about weapons? Other homographs include race. When you talk about race, you are either talking about competition in which we are looking for a winner, or we're talking about a group of people according to the color of their skin. We also have chest, light, and so on. So there are many homographs. Referential ambiguity. Now, referential ambiguity, this type of ambiguity occurs when a phrase or a word in a particular context could refer to two or more properties or things in a sentence. Referential ambiguity occurs from the use of pronouns and quantifiers. So referential, that is something that has to do with reference, ambiguity in referring to something. So pronouns, the use of pronouns, when a pronoun is vague, then it is referential ambiguity. For instance, the boy told his father about the theft case and he was very upset. Who was upset, the boy or the father? The pronoun he does not specify which of the nouns in the sentence it is referring to. He used deceit to sell the soap to me, but I did not buy it. What did I not buy, the deceit or the soap? Here too, the pronoun it fails to specify which noun it is referring to. So referential ambiguity is primarily or largely an ambiguity of pronouns and other kinds of quantifiers. Then we have syntactic or sentential ambiguity. When a sentence contains two or more possible meanings, then the sentence is ambiguous. Syntactic or sentential ambiguity occurs when it is clear what the individual words in the sentence mean, but it is not clear what the whole sentence means. So for sentential ambiguity, all the words may be precise. That is, the meanings of individual words may be clear, but the sentence as a whole is not clear. So the ambiguity may not be coming from individual words, but from the way the words were arranged or something like that. Today we shall be discussing violence on TV. Is it that discussion of violence will be held on a TV program, or that violence on TV will be the topic of discussion? Another example, the dean will talk about cheating in the seminar room. Is the dean going to talk about cheating that happened in the seminar room? Or is cheating the top of the lecture she's going to deliver in the seminar room? So these are examples of sentential ambiguity. Difference between vagueness and ambiguity. A vague term does not indicate a clear boundary of applying the meaning of the term. On the other hand, an ambiguous term gives us ideas of what it means, but suggests more than one acceptable meaning or one accepted meaning, leaving us confused as to which of the meanings particularly is intended. So the summary of the difference between vagueness and ambiguity is that vagueness means no clear meaning, and ambiguity means more than one acceptable meaning. The role of vagueness and ambiguity in language. Vagueness and ambiguity can facilitate equivocation and disagreement in language. We'll be looking at equivocation in the next slide. The role of vagueness and ambiguity can also be found in metaphors and proverbs. Okay, so you know that metaphors can be intentionally vague so that you can interpret it non-literally. That's why it is intentional. It could be intentionally vague. Equivocation. Equivocation occurs when someone shifts unannounced from one meaning of a word to another meaning of the same word in the same passage. This is usually done with the hope of confusing the reader. Equivocation is to take advantage of ambiguity because equivocation means taking advantage of the ambiguous nature of words to persuade or confuse readers. So equivocation is to notice that one word or certain words are capable of two meanings. So you can write about them, you can use those words in a way that suggests one meaning at a time and another meaning at the same time, So we shall study equivocation as a form of argument later in chapter 12, but let's see some examples of equivocation now. Time flies like an arrow and fruit flies like banana, or like a banana. Fruit flies like a banana. The first flies is a verb meaning moving in the air. The second flies is a noun indicating fruit insects. So fruit flies are fruit insects. So the first word like is used for the purpose of comparison. That is, that time is like an arrow. Then the second like is used as a verb indicating a preference for something. So the second like is saying that fruit flies prefer bananas. So that's equivocation. The same sentence containing flies, containing like, but the two kinds of like are different. Okay. I'm celebrating my birthday in a gay manner because I'm gay. The first use of gay means happiness, and the second means the state of being homosexual. So just a single word in a sentence used twice with different meanings. So that's equivocation. But it doesn't appear like an offense here. When it becomes an offense is when you try to use it in an argument to score a point that you shouldn't score. We'll see that when we study equivocation in arguments. Strategy for identifying equivocation. If you want to identify equivocation in a passage, first of all, ascertain whether a word has been used more than once in the passage. Then if you see words that have been used more than once, the next step is to check if the word or expression has different meanings in the passage. If you're able to make these two observations, then the sentence or passage contains equivocation. Now, the importance of identifying equivocation. Now, let's note that vagueness and ambiguity and equivocation are very important in clarifying arguments. If certain expressions are vague or ambiguous in an argument, their meaning needs to be clarified before we can proceed to evaluate the argument. So when you see any of these meaning defects in language, you have to clear it. We have to clarify them before we can even begin to argue, because arguments that are based on defective meanings are misfired arguments, arguments that miss the mark, Brain teaser or exercises. Determine whether each of the following is vague or ambitious. So, number one, we should raise tax on the rich. We should raise tax on the rich. Anyone is free to answer, and I can also answer. So we should raise tax on the rich. Raise tax on the rich. Is it vague or ambiguous? Yes.
It's ambiguous.
It's vague.
Yeah, so why did you say it is ambiguous? Which of the words have two possible meanings? Yeah, so it is not a case of two possible meanings. It is a case of imprecise meaning. The homograph.
So it's vague.
Yeah, the homograph in the sentence is what?
Tax.
Where is the homograph? You said it's tax?
Yes.
No, the tax, there's no problem with tax. The tax is tax.
On the rich, the rich.
Yeah, the homograph is rich.
So I think the rich.
Yeah, you're right.
Yes.
Now,
Rich.
rich is the homograph. Now, when you come to a society where billionaires are rated in dollars, if billionaires are rated in dollars in the US, or rather, if millionaires are rated in dollars in the US and millionaires are rated in cedi in Ghana, and you want to tax the rich in Ghana, can you say that the rich in Ghana are also rich in the US?
No.
And even Ghana is not an accurate example, because $1 is about $1 is about 6 cedis. But what about countries?
Yeah.
What about countries where $1 is about up to 1,000 units of the local currency? Okay, in Nigeria, $1 is 500 cedis.
Yeah.
Naira. Can you say a millionaire in Nigeria is a millionaire in the United States?
No.
Now, so it means that the homograph in statement 1 is rich. Rich does not, the meaning of rich is not clear. There's no boundary of application. So statement 1 is vague. Number 2, I'll be back later.
It's vague.
It's vague.
Yeah.
Until when it's vague.
Yes.
It's also vague.
Yeah, it's vague. Later is vague. Later can be forever, so it's vague. Later is the homograph. And then I'm renting the new apartment.
It's ambiguous.
Yeah, so which place has two meanings?
The renting.
Renting?
Yes.
Does renting have two meanings?
Renting.
Renting. What are the two meanings of renting? Yeah, so I think renting has just one
Hiring.
meaning. You might wait.
Yeah, that's hiring.
Let me see. Patrick, is it Patrick talking?
Yes. Say, I think it's vague.
Yeah, why is it vague?
Say, because you don't know when the person is renting the apartment.
Is it about when? He said he's renting it. So he's not actually telling you that he's renting it now or later, but I don't think that is the problem with the sentence. Ooh. Rachel.
So he didn't say if he's renting it to other people or he himself is renting
Oh,
it for himself.
No, he doesn't need to say
Are
that.
you guys
He
sure
said
allowing?
he's renting- I'm coming.
So because of that is vague.
Okay. So yeah,
Say,
yes.
it is vague because we don't know the number of years he's going to rent it to the person or to the tenant.
No, that's not the answer.
So
Look at the sentence
it is
again.
vague because
It's the location.
no,
what?
it is vague.
Say it's vague because renting has just one meaning. That's just
So it is vague because he doesn't say if the apartment is for rent to others, like if he's the owner of the building and he's renting it, or if the building is for somebody and he's going to rent it and stay in it himself.
No,
So he
but
doesn't
that,
say if he's renting it out.
yeah, yes, but that's not the issue. If he's renting it, then he's renting it. You know, he doesn't need to explain who owns it. What matters is that he's renting it for the time when you rent something. When you rent something, you have right of usage until the rent expires. So whilst your rent is in force, then that property is yours for the usage. You know, it doesn't matter who owns it or who. If, for instance, you've rented an apartment for 1 year, then the landlord cannot enter the apartment. You are the one that can enter it. In fact, the apartment is yours for that year. For use. If you want someone else to use it, you can even invite your parents to stay there. The landlord cannot come and remove them. You know. So once you've rented something, it is like you are buying it temporarily. You shouldn't have problems with who owns it. And so you need to look at the sentence for another problem. What is the actual problem?
Hello.
Yes, go ahead.
I think the problem has to do with new, like the new apartment.
The new apartment. Remember,
Yes.
remember that lexical ambiguity is not the only type of ambiguity. We also have syntactic ambiguity. We have sentential ambiguity. Yeah, so let me step in. I'm renting the new apartment. The problem comes from the last three words, the new apartment. We don't know what which apartment. We don't know. There are millions, billions of apartments in the world. So when someone tells you for the first time, I'm renting the new apartment, the new apartment is vague because he has not previously told you about a certain apartment. So the three words, the new apartment, is has an imprecise meaning. It doesn't mean anything, you know, because no apartment was referred to. So it comes from the three last words, and it also has to do with the definite article, the the the. You know, it is a problem because you don't know if you already know about an apartment with a name on a street, with a name in a town with a name, then someone can subsequently refer to it as the apartment. Okay. So then number 4, stolen jewel found by tree. Vague or
That is
ambiguous?
ambiguity.
Huh?
Say it's ambiguity.
Okay, so what are the 2 meanings? Spell out the 2 meanings.
Say there's stolen and the jewelry.
The stolen. No,
And the
but
jewelry.
is there any problem with the stolen?
Say,
Yes.
Say the tree.
The-
I think it's
the tree.
Yeah,
Found
the
by
tree.
tree.
By tree.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. So explain the problem found by tree. Bring out the detail.
Say, like,
There might
let's
be
say-
someone who is called she or something, and it can be said the jewel was found by a tree.
Yeah. Remember to be very precise in your explanation. You are correct, but you have not explained it well. Let me put it in the words the way you should have put it. The 2 meanings, either that the jewel was found beside a tree, or that a tree found the jewel as if the tree is a
Yeah.
person.
Sir.
Yes.
Okay. I got you.
Yeah, so the 2 meanings.
Say you can go on.
Wait, let me mute everyone. Okay. So it is either the stolen jewel was found beside a tree, or that the tree actually found a jewel as if the tree is a human being. So those are the 2 meanings. When you are offering explanation of such a problem, you have to use a very clear description. Of course, we are discussing vagueness and ambiguity. So what it means is that you yourselves, you have to start making your explanations in with the most precise words. Democracy is freedom for all.
It's vague.
It's vague. Where's the vagueness?
For all, like the last 2 were for all.
Yeah,
So you don't know what.
all. In fact,
Yeah,
it's the last word. Is the last all. So the word in all is the homograph. So democracy is freedom for all. What is meant by, is it all human beings, or all the items in the universe, which includes human beings, animals, crocodiles, birds, and spirits, and all the other things we have, even inanimate objects. Number 6, 2 vehicles collide, one died.
It's ambiguous.
Ambiguous.
Yes.
Yeah, it's ambiguous. So explain the ambiguity.
So it's because
Yes.
you don't, like, the 2 vehicles collide, so we don't know whether it's the human being that died or one of the vehicles that died.
You are right. You are right. You are both right and precise. The 2 meanings, the question is whether it is one of the vehicles that died or one of the passenger, the human beings in the vehicles that died. So that's good. Number 7, court tries shooting defendant.
It's also ambiguous.
Yeah, it's ambiguous. Explain the ambiguity.
It can either mean that the court has tried to shoot a defendant,
Yes.
when a sentence actually means that the court is trying, the court is putting on trial somebody who has shot somebody.
Okay, good. So that's good. That's both correct and significantly precise. So it is that the court is trying to shoot a defendant with a gun or something of the sort, or the court is trying a defendant in a shooting case or in a case of shooting. So that's good. with this performance, I think I'm happy. We can move ahead and see. So that's that about meaning defects. Now you can see that that training is quite valuable. It trains you to talk in a precise manner. You sharpen your ability to select words to express exactly what is in your mind. That contributes a lot to your skills as a logician or a critical thinker. Of course, that training is just an introductory one at this level. It goes deeper if you want to do other courses in logic. Okay, so we'll leave that and go to law. So we're going to look at the different senses of law, what law is, when someone asks you what is law, you have to tell the person that law doesn't have a definition. The definition depends on the sense of law the person is talking about. We have 7 senses. We have natural law, civil law, cultural norm, customary law, moral law, logical law, mathematical law, divine law. Each of these senses of law has their own definitions. So on its own, law as a word is too broad. It doesn't mean anything as such, It just means a kind of, if you even want to define law as a single term, you can only say that it suggests something that should be a regularity, something that should be adhered to. Okay, so the 7 senses, we look at each senses. So no single definition of law, it depends on which sense of law in question. So we'll treat the different senses along with their definitions. Natural laws, these are also called scientific laws. They refer to statements describing the regularity or uniformity in the patterns of events or properties of things in the world. We form these laws based on past experiences. If, for instance, you've been observing that the sun always rises in the east and sets in the west, then that is a natural or scientific law. So the sun rising in the east and setting in the west can be described as a scientific law. Other examples of scientific laws: planets revolve around the sun, the atomic weight of gold is 12, animals survive on oxygen, anything that has weight falls to the ground if suspended in the air. So these are all natural laws or scientific laws. They are the kind of things that natural scientists study. When you go to the basic and applied sciences, and even the health sciences. Okay, so the civil or statutory laws. Let me just make one more comment. So I said that these kinds of laws normally fall under the ambit of the natural sciences, the health sciences, the basic sciences, but when you come to social sciences, you see that it's a little bit more tricky. Social science studies human behavior, and human behavior is not as regular as, it doesn't have the regularity of natural laws, because human beings have something that other things in nature doesn't have. Human beings have volition, they have intention, they have free will, they have the power to decide. Today you can decide to eat, tomorrow you can decide to fast. So anybody who is making a natural law that you must eat is making a mistake. No, so it is more difficult to formulate natural laws in social studies because of the free will that human beings have. You can never predict a human being as accurately as you can predict natural phenomena, because a human being has free will. He or she is always deciding at every minute of the day. So that comment, I think that comment is useful. Now let's go. So that's the difference between natural laws and other laws. Now, civil or statutory laws. These are laws made by man to regulate human behavior, usually legal instruments accompanied by sanction and backed by force. So natural laws are not man-made. They are already there, out there in nature. But civil or statutory laws are man-made, made by man for the sake of man. You know, their disobedience is usually punished. So examples of civil laws are commercial law, tax law, criminal law, corporate law, constitutional law, traffic law, human rights law, and so on. So this is the type of law that lawyers study in law school. And then natural laws are the types of laws that scientists study in natural sciences. Now, civil laws must be obeyed by all citizens. They are accompanied by prescribed punishment for disobedience. Then you have cultural norms, social conventions or social rules. So cultural norms or norms, these are common understandings about how we should do certain things, whether in traditional societies, in the case of cultural norms, or in modern societies, in the case of social conventions, and then any other kind of society or group, organization or institution, in the case of social rules. Now, because it's a common understanding, disobedience is not normally punishable, but attracts social disapproval. Examples include how we should dress, how we should speak, how we should receive visitors, how we should worship, eat. Now, these are common understandings. How do you dress? That would, and then how would you receive visitors? What expectations does your society have for your reception of visitors and those things? How do you eat? Especially when you're eating with others, there are certain rules, certain understandings about how we eat, or observe public holiday, attend social functions. Do you sometimes decide not to attend social functions when people expect you to? So norms are common understandings. Because they are common understandings, disobedience are not normally punishable, but at least it attracts social disapproval. So when you fail to do some of these things according to social expectations or the common understanding, then there could be some disapproval. And for some people, the disapproval is even as painful as a punishment. Okay. Then customary law, when a cultural norm becomes a civil law. So some of these cultural norms could even be transformed into civil laws. Then it becomes statutory and its disobedience becomes punishable. We have customary courts in rural areas. So example of cultural norms that could become customary law are the powers of a chief, traditional marriage rights and duties, and so on. Then we have moral law. There's no universally acceptable definition of a moral law, but moral laws are about rules prescribing how we should or should not behave. Usually for a rule of behavior to be regarded as a moral law, such a rule is universally accepted. So those things that everyone respects in every part of the world, in every society, every community, we call them moral laws. For instance, there's no society where people would want you to steal. If you steal in any society at all, people will be angry and they will look for something to do. Likewise, if you kill, then you could meet with some unsavory consequences. And also, if you take someone's spouse, someone's wife, or someone's, people will react no matter the society. Whether you are here in Ghana or you are in China or Russia, the consequences are the same. So those things that are respected, those laws or those social rules that are respected all over the world in the same way are called moral laws because of their universal acceptance. If they are not universally respected, then they are just, cultural norms or customs, local customs, or the customs of a particular society, the norms of a particular place. It cannot be a moral law. Logical law, these are rules for reasoning. The most common examples are deductive and inductive reasoning. Now, example of deductive reasoning, all men are mortal. Kofi is a man, Kofi is mortal. So this is an example of deductive reasoning. If you say that all men are mortal, and you also say that Kofi is a man, then Kofi is mortal is just a simple conclusion. The conclusion is a simple deduction from the two previous sentences. The way you deduce your answer in mathematics, there is nothing controversial about the argument. The argument is as precise as a mathematical formula. You can't fault it. You can't argue with it. To argue with it is like to argue with 2 plus 2 equals 4. That's why we call it a deductive argument. All right, so it is not like inductive reasoning where we can debate, we can disagree, and all those things. All right, so it's an example of a logical law. Mathematical laws, these are rules for mathematical operations. Examples: never divide by 0. And all the rules of addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division are mathematical laws. Then we have divine laws. These are laws credited with a supernatural source. Now, examples of the divine laws depend on the religion. So we have different religions, and each religion has its own divine laws. There are no universal divine laws. Well, there are many divine laws that apply to many religions at the same time, but not all divine laws apply to all religion, all different kinds of religions. For example, in Christianity, there are laws about relating with God, praying, forgiving those who offend us, and so on. So now, at the end of this session, you should be able to identify factual statements that are implicit value judgments, distinguish metaphors from proverbs, understand vagueness, ambiguity, and equivocation, understand the various senses of law, and remember to do all your textbook exercises. By now, you should have bought your textbooks. I hope you've bought the one at the philosophy department. So at the end of each of our lecture, you have to go to the textbook and do the exercises. There is this other textbook at the bookshop, the one that is colored yellow and black, Critical Thinking at the University Bookshop. That one has 100 exercises at the end of each chapter. It kind of trains you to the extent that these principles will just be in your bone marrow, so that even if you are dreaming, you'll be getting the answers correctly. Okay, so now we have to, before we end the class, we would ask if anyone has questions. So if you have questions, you can raise your hands, ask a question, we address it, and then we end so that you can go and attend to other things. Any questions?
Sir,
Go ahead.
please, I was a bit late, so I didn't get the difference between ambiguity and vagueness and.
No, that will require a section of the lecture. So the best thing for you is to go and watch the video.
Okay, sir.
All right, and the lecture was very simple. The topics here are just as simple as things you do at lower levels. Most of what we did today are not controversial. So you just watch the videos. The real class is coming up on what? On Saturday, when we're going to do deductive reasoning. You prepare yourselves for that class because that's the most challenging class in the semester. Samuel.
Sir.
Yes.
Hello. Please, is there an upcoming I that we should know about?
Yeah, don't worry about the assessments. I will assess you. I know other groups have started their assessments. I will prepare an assessment on Monday. Okay, so at this point, I think we should be rounding up. I'm trying to find my cursor. I'll stop the share. And this is 12:56. So most of the language classes are very short. It is the logic classes that take up the entire 2 hours. So starting from next week, 2 hours will always be taken up. So I wish you the best. This is your last easy class. Now, from now, you go and prepare for the logic classes. Okay, goodbye.
Goodbye, sir.
Bye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, sir.
Goodbye, everyone. Have a nice